podcast about something where each week we dive deep into whatever it is we find interesting. I'm your host, Calvin, and joining me under stacks and stacks of crap or, stuff, whatever, it's your co-host, Nick Richardson.
It's mountainous, my dude.
Dig yourself out, talking to the mic. Can you find the mic within all the levels of crap?
There is like multiple mics in my levels of crap.
Oh, good. Got to collect a lot of things. We are talking about collecting today. That's why there's mountains of crap around Nick. All his collections.
Yes. Don't call my collection crap.
Some call it crap, some call it treasure. Some call it both. I call my collection both. I got a lot of crap.
I have some crap and I have some treasure. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about it all. So, let's start out with the easy question. What do you collect, Nick?
Currently, as a
past,
collector,
present, future, everywhere.
I'm sure you can appreciate this. It changes over time as your tastes change. One thing that's been consistent for me is comic books. I've collected comic books legitimately with like quarters when I was young. Stuff you could make a few bucks here and there around the house. I've bought comic books since I was probably 8.
Do you read them all?
No, not even close.
So so when you collect a comic book that you're not going to read, are you just grabbing it because it's got a cool cover? Or do you, when you buy that, actually plan to read it?
I'll read it
eventually. Want to throw it in the stack? Yeah, okay.
Oh, I don't buy anything just to have it. I'll read it like when my wife went into the hospital and had my daughter, I brought probably 40 comic books with me that I had meant to read, and I fucking crushed them. The first night we were there, we were up for 27 hours straight. So
you got a lot of downtime in there. I watched the Snyder cut of Batman v Superman when my second daughter was born. Good way to knock out 3.5 hours there.
Hell yeah. We brought a laptop and a USB, so we were watching movies. I think I don't remember. It was like Days of Future Past or something, and crushing comic books. But comic books are so awesome, man. There's so much rich stories. And lately, I've been really into small press comics instead of the big two like DC and Marvel. Love our, DC and Marvel. Check out last week's episode of Flashpoint. If you don't know what that is,
get out there and check it out because not many people are.
Super good. Well, more about you now. They got the assurance, brother. But yeah, small press comics lately have been super good. They got all kinds of really interesting and unique stories that you just don't really find with Marvel and DC. So those are always fun to kind of pile up.
For instance, The Boys, which there's a Patreon exclusive available now, all about The Boys TV show.
For as low as $1 a month. That's
Get
cheap.
On it. We're just plugging everything away.
That's how we do. We're getting it out of the way the first 4 minutes.
Exactly. Follow us on Twitter at APA something _podcast. Check out our merch store. tpublic.com/APA something. I think that's all of them.
And check out my Twitter page.
I hit it. I said at alone _podcast.
You did. I had to double plug.
Yeah. All right. I think that's everything. Anyway, what other collections you got? Just comic books, or you got other stuff?
My other stuff is numerous, but it's like statues and action figures.
Yeah. I've got 6 bullet points of things that I collect when we turn it on me.
Oh, dude, I have like artwork on my wall. I really like comic book prints. Those are really, really cool.
Those are good, yeah.
Funko Pops specifically.
Really easy to find the frames for the comic book prints too. They got good framing options.
Yes. I mean, they usually come in 8x11, so it's like, cool, go to Walmart, get a decent 8x11 frame, and you're good. I have 3 in front of me. One done by a local artist who's really good. I'll post that on Twitter.
At alone _podcast.
Yeah, check that shit out. Another by Robert Atkins, the Leonardo print I posted for our TMNT episode.
Bobby Atkins, shout out.
Yep, check that shit out. And another by a local guy I met in St. Louis named Gavin Smith.
You can find me in St. Louis.
Yeah,
No?
St. Louis is dope.
Kelly?
We went to a Comic-Con down there a few years ago, and
Nice.
I'll post that one too.
I want to go to a Comic-Con. Nobody ever wants to go with me where I live. There's one in Tampa, which isn't too far away. So, hey, listeners, if you're in the Tampa, Orlando area and want to go to Tampa Comic-Con next year, hit me up.
If I'm there, I'll go. I'm
Okay.
down.
It's in
But
August.
ooh, that might be tough. Yeah, I could
it's,
probably do that.
It's a tough time.
I get scheduled days off, and when it comes to statues, I got a
Could
lot
even
of.
do an episode about it. Podcast about Tampa Comic-Con. There we go. Boom.
Dude, let's do it. Adventure.
Now you've got a business reason. You can write that shit off on your taxes.
Nice.
We don't make money off this though. Damn it. Anyway,
That was me hitting my fist.
what else
But yeah,
you
Dragon Ball Z statues.
got? Okay.
I fucking
Feeling
love
it?
Dragon Ball Z.
Never seen
And
never seen an episode.
what?
It wasn't on my. I didn't like the animes when I was a kid. It was there because like it was Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z were like back to back on whatever fuck channel they were on. But I was over on Fox Kids watching Spider Man and Batman and whatever. I just I didn't do the animes when I was a kid. I think and see
Yeah.
that's a problem. Even like Pokemon, I didn't do. But I think I would have liked it. I didn't like the animation style. It was weird and foreign to me.
It was hit
I
or
was a
miss.
dumb
I
kid,
liked.
you know.
I used to draw a lot of Dragon Ball Z characters and stuff,
Yeah.
so I had a real affinity for that. And I mean, it's a good show. I love it. Great characters.
I'm not disparaging you at all. Like I know a lot of people
You
love
better
Dragon
not,
Ball
bro.
Z. It's just
I'll fucking
it
tell
was never
you.
my thing.
And then last is My Hero Academia statues.
I don't know
Love
what
that show.
is.
Also another anime.
Yeah, that's why I don't know what it is. It's
I
a lot of
think you'd
animes.
really, really like it. You'd really like it.
I'll look it up. So
Yeah,
for
bro. We'll
me,
do a pilot projection.
it's mostly action figures and statues of superheroes, Star Wars, general nerd shit, right? Power Rangers, yeah, that covers it all pretty much. Got
Let me just say.
some Florida Gator stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen a couple pictures of your collection, and yours is way doper than mine. The display you have, I have mine on basically on shelves.
I have an IKEA
Yours is
pretty close that I
fucking fantastic.
whenever well not lately because I'm shelved up right now, but in the past when I was building my collection, whenever I'd travel to Tampa for work, I would stop in an IKEA, grab a couple shelves. Like they're pretty cheap mostly, so that really helped. I got some Florida Gator stuff, some Game of Thrones stuff, so a lot of, but mostly action figures, statues, things like that. I go kind of after cool looking figures and statues at reasonable prices. I'm not out there spending $300 on a statue. I'm not about that
Fuck
life.
no.
I'm going to a comic book store and seeing, all right, what can I get for $50 or less, and what looks the coolest at that price.
Yep.
That and like stuff from my childhood that I broke or lost or sold since my childhood that like was a really cool toy I had then, and I'm like, well, now I gotta have it again. I've got some helmets. I've got a Stormtrooper. I got a couple Power Rangers and an Iron Man. I've got some wall art that I don't have any room on my walls for more. But I got some cool stuff, like you said, comic book covers, some just like prints of Batman and Star Wars stuff. I've got one print of Spider-Man versus the Green Goblin that is signed by John Romita Jr.
What? That is
Yeah, that
fucking
my
dope.
wife's parents got me for Christmas a couple years ago, and it's like super big. So that one's really cool. And I've got some dragons and dragon eggs from Game of Thrones, and then I've got like a bunch of encyclopedias for like characters and universes that I am never going to read. I like when I first get them, I'll crack them open and I'll look at a couple pages, kind of see some of the cool artwork and that kind of stuff. But those things are so dense.
So dense. And
I used to
I'll
have
usually
like,
look at like 3 individual characters and then put the rest away.
well, I have like the Marvel encyclopedia. This is from I want to say like 2012 of like all the Marvel characters at that time, and they would tell little blurbs about where their story had been. Some would have like like Iron Man has 3 pages worth, and Dazzler has like a quarter of a page, you know, that kind of thing. And for a while, that was in my bathroom, and you know, as I'd be in the bathroom, I'd flip through and just get through. I think I made it to like the G's before I was like, all right, fuck this, I'm done with that. And I have a smartphone now.
I've read this for 37 shits. I'm bored.
But yeah, that's mostly what my collection is. Yeah. we'll get into there. We'll get more detailed as we go through kind of the nitty gritty of this episode.
Definitely.
Definitely. So Nick, what got you started on collecting? That's what we call a segue right there. Wasn't it great?
D's nuts. Sorry,
That
I've
was a
been
weird
watching
thing to
dumb
say.
TV today. That was not a good segue. That was not. Honestly, what got me into collecting was as a kid. As a kid growing up, I was super duper poor, so we didn't have cable, but we got like Fox and WB, I think.
Right.
So I watched a ton of Spider-Man and a ton of X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, my dad loved X-Men. He had X-Men #1, giant size X-Men #1, like he had the whole nine. But he specifically loved X-Men 111, 12, and 13, which is it's Uncanny X-Men 111, 12, and 13. But it's this giant fucking battle with Magneto where basically they all get roasted. And he would tell me stories about it all the time. My dad's a great orator. So that combined with watching X-Men on, cartoon X-Men, it was like, okay, what can I buy for like $6? And you'd be able, back in the day, you used to be able to get such cool shit for so cheap.
There were a lot of good toys.
For
a lot of good toys back then. Which
well,
I'm trying to relive some of that. Like that, those are kind of the things. If I see those in a store, like a toy that I had as a kid, I'll go after that before I go after a cool statue.
Oh, definitely. Especially because those are usually like 14 to $28 now.
Yeah.
I mean,
whereas a
that's
statue, 50 at the lowest.
For a decent one, yeah. You could probably get like a 3-inch tall statue for like $350, but that's not even worth it.
No.
So what got you into collecting?
Well, so kind of same boat as you. Well, not really the same boat. We were never poor. We were always well off. So I won't say that part of it. But as a child, I was, same thing, watching Power Rangers, watching Spider-Man, Beast Wars, Batman all the time. And so, but I lived in a very small town. We didn't have any stores. Like we didn't have Walmart. We didn't have anything. We had a grocery store, some restaurants. That's it. So there weren't a lot of toys around. So like when we'd do good on our report cards or like birthdays and stuff, we'd go, to Gainesville, which was like 45 minutes away, and we'd hit Toys R Us there, or we'd hit Walmart or whatever. Like school shopping, we'd go to Walmart, and if we do good, we'd get a toy. So I was a bit of a action figure hoarder as a child. I had like 100 Batman, 50 Spider-Man, 100 Ninja Turtle. Like I had bins and bins full of action figures, and they were all the same. Like they weren't all the same. I didn't have one single Batman. I had like 30 different Batman.
Yeah, they're like variations.
They had all these different variations of Batman that you could get, and then when a movie would come out, there'd be even more variations of Batman.
So many.
So as a kid, you could say I collected, and if one broke, I wouldn't throw it away. I would just work, like if his leg fell off, I would work that into the story I was playing somehow. Like this Batman got injured in his last battle with the Joker, obviously, So I would always hold on to those things, and I still have a lot of them because my parents kept those bins, but not all of them. And so when we got married and we bought a house, I had an office in the house, and I wanted to decorate it in a way that made me feel good. So I kind of just grabbed whatever action figures I had laying around that were in good enough condition, put them up on some shelves, and then I had some prints and stuff like that I could put up as well. But what kind of really got me there was I was in New Orleans in 2012 or 2013, and I went to a comic book store that was the hotel I was staying at. There was like a mall on the back side of it that was right on the river. And it was this really cool comic book store, really cool little area down there by the river. The comic book store is not there anymore because I went back 2 years ago and it wasn't there. I was really upset. And, I was wandering around the store just trying to see if there was anything cool. I hadn't really visited many comic book stores at that point. So I'm looking around and I came across this die-cast Batmobile in like a plexiglass case. And it's from an Australian line called Batman Automobilia. It's a collection that was like basically a subscription box out of Australia. And they're just these die-cast models of Batmobiles. They're already assembled, so you don't have to build them or anything like that. They're in this plexiglass case, and you don't. They would go. They would get sent from Australia as a subscription. So I bought that one there. I looked it up and saw that there was a subscription. And it went out every fortnight, as they say in Australia. That's 2 weeks for us dumb Americans.
That's fucking awesome.
And so at that point, I decided, because they're not very big, I was like, this is what I'm going to put on my walls. I got that one for less than $20. And through the subscription, they were like $10 to $15 each, depending on which one it was, because some of them are bigger, you know. And the problem was they shipped from Australia. And it's really fucking expensive to ship things from Australia. So for like this $10 to $15 toy, it'd be like at least $40 every 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm not down for that. So I just started scouring eBay and Amazon for all of them that I could find at less than $30. And if it was an extra cool one, you know, I didn't mind paying a little bit more. But, you know, we had a kid then, and my wife and I were both kind of at dead-end jobs. So I had gotten probably 10 to 15 at this time. And at that point, once we had our first daughter, we didn't really have that expendable money to spend on things like more toys. So I got stuck at where I was. And then we moved into we got new jobs and moved into our new house. And I did more, but I started filling my walls with other things in the meantime. And I have 24 different vehicles now.
Nice.
From this series. And since I fell out of that, I kind of started grabbing more different stuff, and I was like, okay, I don't want all of them anymore. I just want, like, I have enough. It's cool how it is. If I have a different wall that I have to put them on and I have to fill gaps, then I can get a couple more. But I started filling my shelves with different things, so I moved past just the Batmobiles. But the Batmobiles are dope. I'll probably take a picture and post that. I'll probably take pictures of most of my shelves. Yeah, it'll go good with this episode.
I think so.
Yeah, so that was really what started me down the obsessive path of, like, let's fill my walls with cool shit, was finding that Batmobile in that comic book store.
How much did you pay for it?
Around $20, I would say.
Yeah, that's really,
because I
find a little treasure like that. It's fucking awesome.
A couple of them I've found in, probably 3 or 4 of them I found in comic book stores, and they're $20-$25 in the comic book stores because there's no shipping associated with it. The ones on Amazon, they'll be selling for like $9-$10, but then it's $10 shipping too, because they're not shipping from Australia, but they're not necessarily here either.
Well, and diecast shit weighs a good amount usually.
These aren't very heavy. I think they're hollow. Small? Yeah, they're pretty small, and I think they're hollow inside, so that helps.
Dude, I totally lucked out, man. Speaking of collecting and finding cool shops, as you mentioned when you went to New Orleans.
I love a good comic book store.
Dude, when I was on my work trip, I recently had to go to Fredericksburg, Virginia for USDA training. Shout out. Fredericksburg was dope. The people were super nice, but they had this comic shop. Oh my God, they had 3 rows. They were probably 40 to 50 feet long, just fully packed of action figures.
Yeah, you told me about this, and I immediately came home and I told my wife the next time because she goes to Washington, D.C. for work all the time. I was like, next time you go, I'm going to go with you and go to the store.
Dude, please fucking do it. There's actually 2 stores right next to, there's like a store in between it, and then the second half of this store, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I lucked out because I've been searching this line of Evangelion's, another anime I like.
I've heard of that one.
Super good, but they have a very specific line by Xebec Toys, which is, I mean, obscure old defunct company, but they fucking made dope toys, man. And they had them on the shelf for a great price, and I was like, yeah, I gotta get one of those.
Yeah, I feel you.
I was very tempted to get like 5 or 6 more.
So there's one comic book store in Orlando that I've been visiting a lot called Gods and Monsters. Visit them. They've got a lot of cool shit, a lot of good collectibles there. I've kind of worn myself out on it because I've been going to Orlando a lot lately, and like my hotel's always right next to it because I stay in the same hotel every time. So I'm like, all right, I need to take a couple trips off of going there because I've probably gone 4 times in the last 6 months. They don't really have anything new yet, but they got a lot of good stuff there. If you're in the Orlando area and looking for stuff like that, they've got a lot of good stuff. My other favorite one that I've been to is in Panama City. They got knocked out by a hurricane a year ago. but they should be back up and running right now. I don't remember the name of it. I probably should have looked that up. Um, but just search comic book stores in Panama City. There's only 3, so you'll find it out of the 3. If you have to visit all 3, they've got a ton of old school Star Wars stuff, a lot of old school X-Men, Marvel stuff, like from the 80s and 90s. So a lot of good vintage stuff that's still in box, still really cool to get up on your shelves if you get it. And I always go there when I go to Panama City for work. I'll make sure I always go there. Last time I went, I couldn't go because they were closed from the hurricane damage still. But I think they're back up and running now. And so like I said, anytime I travel for work, I'm finding the nearest comic book store and going in because a lot of times there's a lot of cool shit. And usually I will try to buy something from everyone. The only place that I didn't buy something from was the last time I went to New Orleans, because they didn't have the original comic book store I went to. I found like 2 or 3 other in a different area that were kind of all in the same general circle, and none of them, like, all they had was like Marvel Legends and like the DC Infinite line or whatever that's called, and for 35 bucks, and I'm like, I'm not gonna buy
Yeah,
that.
kiss my
All of
fucking
these are
ass.
$20 on Amazon. Like, I love to give these types of stores my patronage, but you're not doing anything to earn it here with your fucking Marvel Legends line for 30 bucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, suck my boners, you buttholes.
All three, all 3 of them were the same. One of them was like a strictly comic book store, so they had only a couple like action figures, but packed to the gills of actual comic books, which when I go to a comic book store, I'm not usually looking at comic books.
That's also something I try to do is any time I go out of town, I always check out the nearest comic book store.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter. I'm always gonna do it. There could be a storm raging and I'm out there. But
Yeah.
when I come across those infuriate me. Which is silly. I mean, it shouldn't, but it does. When you walk in and it's just like, oh, you want to charge me $30?
I like the Marvel Legends and the DC Infinite figures. I have several of them, but I'm not paying $30 for them.
Not for the common stuff. Like, if it's
No.
a super legit, hard to find figure, maybe.
Right.
But when it's upcharged just for the sake of fucking upcharging, nope.
Yeah, and you're not like most of these comic book stores, they're not providing any service. Like, the guy's just standing there behind the counter waiting for me to look around, which is fine. Like, I don't care. I don't want you to talk to me anyways for the most part. But like, you're not doing anything to earn the extra $10 to $15 you have this marked up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
And I used to, if I would go into one of those places, I would try and buy like know how they do like the collections of a certain series of comics. Like, instead of having to buy all 15 comics, they just put it into one book. I would buy like one of those or something if they didn't have any toys that I like. But I've stopped doing that because I got the apps now that I will read on, right, and I won't sit there with a paperback and flip through pages.
So much cheaper to do that.
Yeah.
It's
I
spend way too much money on comics. They're like $5-6 a piece now.
Yeah. It can get rough. So when did you start full blown collecting, would you say?
Oh man, probably it was. I had like a jump start, and then it kind of segued into the full. Like, it jump started. I grew up at the tail end of like the Ninja Turtle phenomenon.
Yep.
So garage sales had thousands of turtle action
you would have
figures,
looked,
like the
you would have
whole
looked
nine.
out there for sure.
Dude, I used to get 10, 15 figures for like $4, $5, and just fully equipped, still got all the accessories, and that was kind of like my thing.
That was always my thing because I played with my toys all the time.
I played with
I was
them
not
so
keep it
rough.
in the box to preserve its value. I don't give a shit about that. I still don't. I take everything out of the box because it's stupid. I don't want a box. I want the toy. But I would lose accessories all the time and just didn't give a shit.
No, and I mean, I'd break them, I'd throw them around,
Oh yeah,
they'd
like
get paint,
there would be
scuffed,
full
and
on
then
battles going on between these guys.
so much fun, and they would get toasted, dude. They'd get ran over, all kinds of
Yeah,
garbage.
sometimes the
but
turtles got to lose.
the
It's
turtles
rough, but
lost
the
a
shredder
lot,
the shredder
especially
has
to
to
the
win
Power
sometimes.
Rangers.
Yeah, well, that's true. When you get that crossover event, Batman comes in there. He fucks shit up. You can't control it all the time.
Yeah, it's just however you're feeling. Could
And
be
then
a stormy day in your
if
mind.
the Power Rangers call in the Megazord, it's over.
It's fucking over, especially the ones from space.
I don't know that I watched Power Rangers in space. That might have been like where I dropped off of it.
I still remember the theme song for that.
I'm going through it right now. I did the first 3 seasons, which they're still Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but they did the Ninja for a while, and they did the Shogun for a while. Now I just started on Power Rangers Zeo, and then I think
Zeo was
Space
okay.
is next, but I'm not
Space was
sure.
one of my favorite. They had super cool figures. But that kind of jump started me, and then it went into made a concerted effort to collect all of the Beast Wars figures as they came
I
out.
went deep down that rabbit hole too. I
Dude,
really loved getting
fucking
those.
loved Beast Wars.
I loved the show, and I loved the idea of the Transformer, and making it turn back and forth, and it was really cool. Like there were some that were really complicated, and you really had to figure out. Like it was a learning experience. It wasn't just like here's a fucking toy, and they gave you the instructions, but you don't want to read the instructions. You want to figure it
No,
out.
I don't think I once looked at the instructions.
I probably had
And I
to for a
mean,
couple. There were definitely a couple that I had to look at the instructions, but I would always go out on my own first.
dude, I used to crush those. My dad used to get pissed because he'd buy me one, and then it's like I'd do chores and chores and chores, and I'd
Mm.
finally go to the store to get one, and I'd transform it in like 2 minutes. It's like you figure it out as a
I
kid.
still have some of mine, and like a lot of them are easy, but there's probably 3 or 4 that I'll grab, and I'm just like, they're stuck halfway between animal and like a robot, and I
Mm,
have no idea where to go with it, and the instructions are long gone. Like I bought these when I was 12, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, no, maybe this goes here. Like, can I break this piece off and put it back on later? I can't figure them out anymore.
yeah, dude. I think the most complicated Beast Wars transformer I remember was the Stingray guy.
Mm-hmm.
That one
He was
was
hard.
the
I have
Mantor.
a
Love that one.
I have they did a line that was like the metallics or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I have it's like a dragonfly or a wasp, and it wasn't only the metallics, but it was then like two animals mixed together and metallics, and like yeah, that this one is like wasp slash dragonfly, and it's forever stuck 3/4 of the way between both.
Yeah, that was when they like Rat Trap got wheels and shit.
Yeah,
They were like robot, metallic,
yeah,
extra robots, animals. Like it was fucking weird, but
and
that
then
show
another
was dope.
animal too.
Yeah,
But they went
that
way deeper with the toys than like the cartoon ever did. Like there were so many toys that didn't exist in the cartoon. I don't know if there's a comic series that went with it or anything like that, but like
I
there
don't know,
was
man.
they had so many that were a part of like that you could buy toys of that I never saw show up on the show,
Yeah,
which is
that's
cool. I like that.
the one you're talking about. I don't remember showing up on the show, but I remember
It's
that
in my
action
attic, so
figure.
I probably won't take a picture of that, but I'm
That's
not going to
alright.
go in
We
the
don't
attic just
expect you to.
to get that.
Fuck the attic. It's scary up there.
So you started when you were a kid at garage sales, Ninja Turtles, but when did you really like, all right, I'm going to put this shit up on the walls, and this is now it's not just I want toys to play with. I'm getting these to just have.
Display.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. That was probably honestly not a whole hell of a long time ago. I want to say when I was about 20, because I started actually making decent money when I was around that age, and that's when I kind of had a bit more of disposable income.
Mm.
2021, when my wife and I got together, that was when I really, because I had a roommate for a long time, and he was a dickweed and
Fuck
broke
roommates.
or stole all my shit. So yeah, fuck you, Adam, cocksucker. Hope you listen to this.
Shout out
But
Adam.
yeah,
Also, fuck you.
shout out to these nuts, bitch. But yeah, I was single. I didn't have much going on. I wasn't going out or anything, and that's kind of what I chose to spend my money on.
Right.
It
I was kind of
started
in the
with
same boat.
Halo figures.
Oh, that's a good line. I was kind of in the same kind of boat. I got the job I currently have in 2012, and we didn't have a kid yet, so that was when I'd kind of go out of my way to find things then. And then once we had our daughter Emily, like I said, that kind of broke off, and then it was probably 2 or 3 years before I really started ramping up again. And when we moved into this house, which was right before we had our second daughter, which would have been 3 years ago, when we bought this house, that's when I really was like, okay, I'm filling this now. Like I'm
Fucking
getting as
doing it.
much as I can. My wife and I both have much better jobs. Like we have expendable income to do this. Our bills are relatively low. Like this is what I want to. I had a huge Amazon wish list of stuff that like I would just see and I thought it was cool, so I would add it to it. And like I got my bonus that year, and I spent a much larger chunk than I would like to admit on the air on just like toys, basically, and collectibles. Uh, so yeah, and now anywhere, I go, I'm looking in local comic book stores. I'm always searching Amazon for new stuff. So like 3 to 5 years ago was when I kind of really started of like, okay, I'm gonna collect um, the things I like, because it started with the Batmobiles, and then I was like, okay, I need more stuff. I can't just have Batmobiles, and now it's anywhere I go, looking in the comic book stores, always searching Amazon, eBay every once in a while. If there's like a specific thing that I remember that I know I want, that's when I'll go to eBay, because they usually have like the older stuff that you can find easier.
For pretty cheap too. eBay's
Yeah.
the shit for that.
Uh, but yeah, so that's kind of when I started, and how I got started.
I mean, collecting is so universal, dude. That's fucking awesome.
It seems like it, as we got from our Twitter, which we'll get to a little later.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I mean, we've talked a
Super
lot
good
about
response.
the types of stuff. Is there a go-to thing that you're looking for when you want to build up on your collection?
Usually it's more like more out there comic books of a specific line. For the longest time, I've been collecting every variation of the Spider-Man suit. Each first appearance they have of that.
Nice.
Anytime I go to a comics book store, so there's that, and then I'll usually check out.
Do you have like
some
a
kind
list of what issues they are?
I just know it's kind of I know the covers if I
Yeah.
see them. I usually know the range. Like I know Carnage. First appearance of Carnage is 361. Venom's 300.
Jesus.
First black suit is fuck. I don't even. It's Secret Wars 8. You know what I mean?
No.
And
No, I don't. I would never be able to do that. I'd have to have like 16 different lists, and then they'd be subcategorized and in folders and shit.
well, there's
I have to write
great
things
suits.
down. I have way too
Bombastic
much stuff going
Bagman.
on in my brain.
Spider-Man takes precedence, my friend.
I guess so.
It's like my daughter, and then right below her, Spider-Man.
Oof. It's gonna be a rough one for your wife to listen to.
And my wife goes with my daughter. Those are synonymous. Love you, honey. But yeah, I mean, I probably
save.
have 22 to 25 different Spider-Man comic variations.
Nice.
And like anytime he's done a different, like he had to hide his identity for a while, so he was different superheroes.
Right. Yep. I remember that.
Yep, I got all of those. I got
Captain
all kinds of
Universe.
Spider-Man shit.
That's a cool thing to look for, because that would be cool. Like once you get them, are close to having all of them, and obviously that's gonna keep going, because as movies keep getting made and video games, like they do special releases of comics with those and that kind of stuff. But like as you get closer to completing that, you can frame them and kind of take out a chunk of wall for that collection, which would be a kind of cool thing to do, I would think.
Oh, I do. I keep them all up. I keep I keep 10 of my favorite ones on my wall directly behind my mic right now, actually.
That'd be a cool thing too, to kind of switch them out as you go. Like
Yeah,
your MySpace top 8. You probably don't even know what the fuck MySpace is. You're too young for it.
Excuse me? Bro, I had a MySpace.
Oh no,
like a
because
motherfucker.
you'd have been like what, like 13, 14 in the MySpace boom. So
Something like that.
yeah, you would have really, yeah, you would have been on there. All right, never mind.
Jeez, guy. I'm
Well, I was thinking
26. I'm a big man.
I didn't get MySpace till I was in college, so I'm thinking like, okay, this is a college thing. But I remember now all of the 13 and 14-year-old angsty emo people also on MySpace.
Yeah,
Put
I
your
was one of
favorite, you
those.
put your song up on there.
Fuck yeah.
MySpace.
Watch the bodies hit the floor. You already know, man.
I had my friend from like when I was a kid, and I hadn't seen him in a while because I moved away, and then like I went back to my town one time and like saw him, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm in this band, we're on MySpace, blah blah blah, and I looked up, they were pretty good, and I put one of his songs on there. I was like, oh yeah, check out my friend's band. And I don't think they're anything important ever, but they sounded good. The what were they called? It was like the Red Underground or something like that. One of those super. They weren't a super emo
Generic,
band
that
or
sounds
anything, but
fucking
it's like
lame.
one of those super emo generic band names. Yeah, the Velvet Underground, some shit like that. Yeah,
That's a famous band.
that is okay. It was something like similar to that though.
The Maroon Underground.
just
The Maroon
right
Silk
up against
Underground.
It's not copyright infringement if we don't use the same color, guys.
The
uh,
burgundy silk. I like that better.
so for me, like I said, I'm always looking for action figures, statues. Mostly right now, I'm on the lookout for Spider-Man and Star Wars stuff because I haven't quite filled those shelves. My Batman and Power Rangers are absolutely maxed out. Now, Batman villains, I got plenty of space for. Robin and Batgirl, I've got plenty of space for, but I have zero space for actual Batman.
I
And
have
then
very few Batman. Actually, I have more Joker
I've
or
got quite a bit of Joker, but I have a ton of fucking Batman. And then I've got like my Power Rangers. There's space in there, but other than like the original uh costumes and the weapons and the Megazord, like there's not that much. I've got a Megazord, I've got a Dragon Zord, I've got the Dragon Dagger, I've got the White Ranger sword, I've got the original, like these were the first toys that they did for Power Rangers where they had like the flipping heads. Like one was the
oh, I
person's
love
head and then the
those.
other side was the helmet. Like you push the morpher and their head would flip. I've got those. I've got a power morpher. Uh, I've got like a tiny helmet set. I've got a couple of actual helmets. I've got a Lord Zed. I've got the Ninja Megazord. I've got a Rita
That
Repulsa.
one
I've
was
got a
great.
Putty and I've got Ivan Ooze. Like that's all I need. I don't care about Zeo. I don't care about In Space. I don't care about Turbo. Like I watched all those, but I don't want the toys from them. So there's not much more unless something really really cool comes out from the original run, which they're doing a lot with now. They've got the Legacy and all that those lines. But like I've pretty much gotten what I want out of Power Rangers.
I feel you there.
But
But
yeah, I'm always on the lookout for Marvel and just general DC things, but mostly Spider-Man and Star Wars. And honestly, if anything's cool enough and at the right price, I'll grab it. And that's why I have so much Batman, is because there's always, in any comic book store, there's 500 Batman things ranging from $2 to $300. So you can always find a Batman thing, and somewhere in there you can find one for the right price that's cool
definitely,
enough. So that's kind of why that Batman collection got built up so
I miss
easily.
collecting Power Rangers, man. They had, especially the original run, they had such great stuff.
Yeah, the original
Super
run's
good.
dope.
Fuck that
Plus,
pussy
I got a Dragon
shit.
Dagger. That honestly, what it's what we're gonna talk about next. But the Dragon Dagger is honestly one of the coolest. And when I got that, like I just held it and it plays the music and stuff if you push the buttons, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. Because I used to when I was a kid, and this is really really dumb and really really dumb 5-year-old kid shit. But like on the kindergarten playground, I vividly remember I
Mm-hmm.
would like we'd play running around chasing type games, and I would pretend I'd have the Dragon Dagger, play the little song, dun, 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 right? I'd do that,
Naruto run,
and
bro.
that would make me run
Stick them
faster.
hands behind you. Fucking book it.
Yeah, yeah.
Wasn't into that
Nah,
gay shit.
I didn't know about that shit. I wasn't into that. But yeah, you just dun, 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 and I just like
You
that
know, they
made me
were
run
all like,
faster, and then
fuck,
I could
Calvin
catch
broke
whoever I
out the
needed to
dagger
catch.
again.
Yeah, so that's why when I got that, yeah, when I got that Dragon Dagger, I was like, all right, this is dope. But I actually have more prized things in my collection now because it's grown since then. But as we're kind of segueing into this, what is your most
Hit me.
prized piece? I'll go over mine first because I was already talking about it. Fuck you, Nick. You've got to go first on everything else. I'm going first here. Um, so since the Dragon Dagger, which now is included in this, but I didn't include it in my notes because I kind of forgot about it for a minute. I have so I talked about all my little Batmobiles. I have a 2 foot long Batman the Animated Series Batmobile.
Dude, that sounds dope.
It lights up. The Batman action figure fits inside it,
Ooh.
so he can drive it around. It's got lights on the front. The top opens. And the Batman Animated Series Batmobile is easily top 5 Batmobiles. Probably top 3, maybe top 1.
It's a great Batmobile. It's a great
It's a
series.
really
Fuck.
good Batmobile. So I've got that, and then most recently I added the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge lightsaber that I got to build myself.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. That sounds super
Yeah.
tight.
So the Batmobile came from Amazon, about $100. Sometime I got it sometime last year, and the lightsaber, like I said, built it at Galaxy's Edge just a month ago, which I went back to 2 days ago, which was really cool. I didn't build another lightsaber because I didn't want to spend another 200 credits on it. fuck you, Galaxy's Edge, with your stupid credits. Like, just tell me how much in dollars it is. One
You
credit is
bastards.
$1, but they make it really hard. But they're just, like I said, this Batmobile is so cool. It just brings back, like when I look at it, it brings back memories of watching the show and playing with those action figures. And like the fact that one of the action figures can fit in the Batmobile is super cool. And like, it's just a cool nostalgic thing, just like the Dragon Dagger. It's like one of those things that is just kind of will always remind, like if I sell my whole collection, those are the things that I would still hold on to. Everything else,
must keep.
everything else could probably go, but those I would. I mean, there's probably some other things that I would keep, but those two are high on the list, along with the lightsaber, which I got to build my own fucking lightsaber. Like, come on now.
Yeah, you can't fucking beat that.
I picked the kyber crystal. I assembled the hilt. It's fucking awesome.
You're
I
making
can't wait
memories
till
here.
yeah, I can't wait until my kids are old enough to build their own lightsabers. They can't build them now because they would want to fucking play with them. They got to be like 15 at least
Yeah, they break
to
the
do
shit.
this because yeah, they would get broken so fast. We have like the little they also have a different section in Disney World where you can build your own lightsaber, and this was before they opened Galaxy's Edge. You could even do it where you build like one of the ones that has like the fling out blade,
Mm-hmm.
and you can put your hilt together for that and pick your color and things like that. But that is, you're just like grabbing pieces and sticking together. This was like a whole show around it. They were really treating you like you were a Jedi. Like it was honestly awesome.
That sounds super tight.
And
Right
it's
up
green.
my alley.
Pick the green kyber crystal.
No.
Chaotic good.
Red.
Nah, I'm not evil.
I fucking am. I'm evil
not
as
evil.
hell.
I'm not evil.
I'm not evil.
Anyway, what are your most prized pieces?
I really just have I have two. They're both comic
I had
books.
3, so suck it.
Suck it! You suck it, and then you suck, and then you suck it.
Your kids leave their toys around the floor. You suck it.
You suck it.
David Wallace, man,
Fucking cool $1 million.
great idea.
What a G.
Still waiting to buy mine. Anyway,
I've been looking for
is that your prized possession? The suck it?
Well, yeah, man, I got that for like $3.50 down at the thrift store. No, I have my number one.
Love it when he makes that.
Excuse you.
Anyway, go on. When David Wallace he makes it, this is the.
So
All right, sorry. Go ahead.
my number one is a comic book autographed by Stan Lee.
Yep.
That is that's
Okay.
fucking up there for me.
Understandable.
It's the Amazing Spider-Man comic, a special series called Flashback. It's a
Not to be
weird
confused
one.
with Flashpoint.
What's that?
I said not to be confused with Flashpoint
No, but check that out. Check that episode out.
last week.
But it's Spider-Man rocking Cap's uniform and shield, and then it's signed by
cool.
Stan Lee. And
Did you find that signed by Stan Lee, or did you get it signed by Stan Lee?
me signed Stan Lee.
Nice.
He's shit.
Where'd you pull that off?
Comic-Con.
Nice.
Wife hooked it up.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep. Same one I
Shout
met
out wife.
Sean Bean and got a
You're
Funko Pop.
below Spider-Man comics runs, but you got one signed, so good job for you, wife.
I have 2 pictures of my wife on my desk, thank you. She wins. They're closest. And
Yeah, but you left her out of your rankings earlier. She's not going to forgive you for that.
she's synonymous with the baby.
Anyway, what's number 2?
Number 2 is a little obscure because it's an actual book.
Okay.
But I have one of my favorite authors. His name is Troy Denning. He does really good sci-fi books, and he did a Halo book called Silent Storm. And he basically went on Twitter and was just like, hey, if you're a fan and you pay for the shipping to and from my place, send me your book and I'll autograph it for you. And I put a "You Are All Alone" card and like a little
Nice.
message in there, and I sent it to him, and he wrote back, to Nick, best of luck with "You Are All Alone" podcast, Troy Denning. And that I thought was just a really,
That's dope.
really fucking neat.
I left
neat
a couple
thing for him to do.
stickers for a podcast about something in the bathroom at Disney World. So if you're listening, people who picked up those stickers, provided you're you're probably just somebody cleaning up the trash and threw them right away. But if you picked one up, shout out.
Yeah, fuck these guys. That's the first thing I'm thinking. Dicks.
Well, it just, I mean, at Disney World, that they pick up trash constantly. There's no trash on the ground ever.
Really? I find that
No.
hard to believe. That's crazy.
There's, first of all, you can't go more than 10 steps without seeing a trash can. That's legitimate. And there are like people literally popping out of tunnels underground to pick up trash all the time.
Like, hey, I'm Kevin. Give me your garbage.
They don't like announce themselves.
Hi, I'm Person. Give me your garbage.
Yeah, that'd be weird. It doesn't get that weird. Clearly, you've never been to Disney World.
I've never been to Disney.
You should go. It's fun. It's a fun place.
Maybe
Happiest
when my
place
daughter gets
on Earth.
A little earlier. You know what the happiest place on Earth is for me? Soldier Field.
Ugh.
Soldier
Gross.
Field's the best.
Yeah, but not when Mitchell Trubisky's your quarterback.
Dude, you better quit fucking hating on me.
I mean, you got Chase Daniel. Looking much better than Mitchell.
Who's your quarterback?
Carson Wentz. From my Philadelphia Eagles as of 4 months ago.
Whack.
I'll still claim it. So what is the greatest? We're talking about these prized possessions. We got them in a lot of cool ways. We paid some money for them. What's the greatest length you've gone to get a collectible? What's the craziest shit you've done?
The greatest length I've gone to was basically drive like 250 miles, ride a train, get a taxi, do a bunch of I went up to Chicago, and I mean it's about a 3-hour train ride, but a lot more little expanses took part because I basically went to every comic shop in the area. So I mean, drove a fucking shit ton, rode the train, but it was specifically for
It's always a tough
Funko.
word for some reason.
I don't know why, man. But it was for Funko Pops specifically. I was really into them at the time, and it was
Which one?
just basically anything. It was right when my wife and I's collection was starting to get going.
Oh, were you just like jumping store to store to grab whatever you could, kind of thing?
Whatever I liked, and
Yeah,
at the
right.
time, it was like stuff was getting vaulted, is what they call it. So it was becoming rare and expensive. So it's like fuck, I was on the hunt all the time. And dude, I traveled hundreds and hundreds of miles in one day for some plastic, and now it's like
Nice.
I've cooled off on them.
I was never a huge fan of the Funko Pops. I've got, let me see, 1, 2, 3. I think I probably have a Spider-Man one. So maybe 4. I've got one of a Joker holding a surfboard, which is dope.
Which is dope.
I've got one of Alpha 5 from Power Rangers, obviously. I've got one of Stewie Griffin that I got in like Loot Crate, which is one of those subscription boxes where they send you nerdy shit. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll put it up.
I've had Loot Crate before.
Yeah, and then like I said, I probably have a Spider-Man over there. I don't know. I'll get a Funko Pop if it's the only thing, like the Joker with the surfboard. Like I can't find a toy of that anywhere else, and that's just like a cool thing to have. So like I'll grab. Like if it's a super, not rare, but like unusual thing that a character is doing or has, then I'll grab it. Or like the Alpha 5, like that's the only toy of Alpha 5 I can find. And I needed an Alpha to complete my Power Ranger. You can't have the Power Rangers without Alpha. I don't have a Zordon, but they don't make fucking Zordon. Yeah, the only thing Zordon I can find is they have like a command center playset. And I'm like, well, I don't have that much space to set up this whole fucking playset. So if anybody has a Zordon or knows of where I can find just a fucking Zordon, a tube with a head in it, that's all I need, hit me up. At APA something on Twitter.
Hit me up.
But that's a crazy story. That's a long way to go just to try and find Pops. I don't really do that. I don't think I have anything that like qualifies for this point on our outline. There's really nothing out there that I'm going to do anything crazy to go out of my way to get. I mean, maybe something like you said you got your comic book signed by Stan Lee. Like if I knew Stan Lee was going to be in, obviously he's not going to be now, but if I knew he was going to be in Orlando and I wasn't already planning on being in Orlando, maybe I would go out of my way to go to Orlando to get him to sign something. But like, it's a 3-hour drive and it's there and back. Like I wouldn't, I don't know. Like there's nothing that valuable to me that I can think about that I would go out of my way for to drive around all day. Like mine is more spelunking for artifacts rather than I need this thing now.
Oh, I feel you, and that's there's a lot of that for me as well. And with
And if
Amazon and
there
eBay,
isn't
it's
I need
so
this thing
easy.
now, I hit on Amazon.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's so easy. It's just it's something that both my wife and I enjoyed. So it was a fun
Yeah.
thing. It was
Oh no,
before
I
my
get it.
daughter
Yeah,
was
that
born.
was like an adventure,
Yeah, exactly.
right, to find things. That which is cool. And like I wouldn't say that's a crazy thing to do. Like you guys had nothing else to do. Like that's a fun way to spend a day or two to go around looking for things.
It was a good time.
Yeah, exactly. And that was something you were doing bonding with your wife. Like that's cool. Like I have a shredder that I always needed a shredder. That's another one that I had a hard time finding, like a good like 90s
Hmm.
cartoon shredder. A really hard thing to find, and Target just put out a
Dude,
line
they
of
had
NECA
great ones.
action figures. They're really good. I got the shredder. It came with a Leonardo. The shredder and Leonardo came together. I didn't really want the Leonardo, but whatever. I got it because I'd go on eBay and I'm like, well, is anybody selling just the shredder? And they were selling the shredder for like $30, and the two of them together is like $40 at Target. So I'm like, all right, I'll just buy both of them, and now I have an extra Leonardo. Um, so like I needed a shredder for a really long time, but I was just pretty much trolling Amazon and eBay. I wasn't, and anytime I was in a comic book store, that was one of the things I would look for. But I don't know, I wasn't hitting up Craigslist to see if there was anything
Hmm.
within 500 miles to drive and get.
Not that crazy, man.
I'm not that crazy. On the other side of the coin, what's your biggest fail of collecting? Is it driving all that time to find Funko
Yep,
Pops that you don't care
that's
about it?
honestly exactly what I was gonna say. Um, I really, really loved Funko Pops for, a year or two, and then it just kind of hit me one day. It was like, I don't care anymore.
They're pretty cool looking, and there's some really good ones that you can like. There's some really cool shit that they make. I'll give them that, but there's so many.
There's so many, and it's ridiculous with how many they have, and that kind of killed it for me because it's like
You're never going to collect them all. When the line first jumps out like that, you're like, well, maybe I can get all these. And that was my thing with the Batmobiles. I was like, I could probably acquire all of these because there were probably 40 of
hmm
them when I started. I was like, I could eventually get there. And then I'm just like, I can't
now
do
there's a
it.
million and a half.
Yeah, well, especially the Funkos. Yeah, there's so many, and there's so many little variations of them. And if you have both, and to me, Funkos for a while got to be like the easy thing to collect,
They
right?
definitely were.
It was this, it was this shortcut to I'm nerdy too, which like if you want to like the stuff, nerdy stuff, that's fine. Like it at whatever level you want to like it. I'm not trying to gatekeep the nerdiverse here. It's just the Funkos always seemed like I wanted more of a challenge in my collecting, right? I didn't want to go to FYE and just look at a fucking wall full of this thing.
Mm-mm.
I wanted to go to comic book stores and find it. And that sounds like what you were doing with them. You weren't just like, oh, here's Donald Duck. Let's get him. I don't have him yet.
Yeah, I get.
You were like looking for actual cool things you like, and you looked in like the places that were fun to look for them in comic book stores, things
Yeah,
like
it's an
that.
adventure.
Whereas like, yeah, I like it just seemed like, well, let's build a wall of these little square things, and 15-year-old girls can buy these and show the 15-year-old boys how nerdy they are because they have
How unique they
a
are.
Superman
Well,
Funko.
see, for me, it was because they had a lot of obscure lines that you couldn't really get action
Right.
figures.
Exactly. That was and see that's one of the things I liked about Funko Pop is because there's so many of them, they have all these weird and unusual variations. Like I said, you can't find a Joker holding a surfboard anywhere else except the Funko Pop. The Martha Wayne Joker, only thing out there is a Funko Pop. So like they have all these kind of more obscure versions of things, which is really cool. But at the same time, it's a super oversaturated thing.
It is definitely that now.
Yeah. For me, again, like I don't go to any great lengths, so I don't feel like I've ever failed. The biggest thing would be selling, donating, throwing away a lot of my childhood toys that weren't broken,
Did way too
or I
much of
just,
that.
thought I had no use for anymore. And now like I find myself going on eBay and Amazon and paying a much higher price to reacquire this thing that I already had.
Yeah,
And also DVDs.
Fucking DVDs, dude. I had a
I had a
bajillion.
lot of fucking DVDs in college
Blu-rays.
because like it was cool to have a super good movie collection, you
Yeah.
know? Because any movie you wanted to watch, I wanted to have it. Like I didn't want to be like, okay, I want to watch this movie now. I gotta go rent it and bring it back. Like no, I wanted to fucking have it. But I did. I got smart early on and started digitizing all of my DVDs like in 2008, way before the actual wave of digitizing all your media hit. So I've been on that for a while. And then when
Let
I
me
was
get rid of
unemployed,
these.
I had the opportunity to just sell all my DVDs because I didn't need them anymore. They were already on a hard drive. So I was like, all right, here's a quick way to make $100.
Yeah. You saved my ass. I
Here's
can now afford
$1,000
to pay
worth of
my
DVDs.
bills.
Thanks for $100. And then let's flip the coin one more time here and talk about the thing you haven't acquired yet. Your holy grail. What is the thing that you want that you just haven't come across yet or haven't? Because I feel like for a holy grail, it can't be something you can just easily get off Amazon, right?
Exactly.
Because you would have done it.
Or you're just not in the position to do so. It's
Right.
a
It's way
very
too expensive
dear,
there. Right.
dear thing to me. 5 or 6 times. But obviously it would put me in the poorhouse. It's The Incredible Hulk number 181, which is
I'm
the
listening.
first appearance of Wolverine superheroes of all time. It's probably Spider-Man and then Wolverine. But there's a comic book shop called Graham Cracker Comics I go to in Chicago, and they had it like probably a 4 out of 10 for $4,500,
Damn.
and that was the closest I've ever come to buying it. And my wife was with me at the time, so I was like, yeah, no, that's not gonna fucking fly.
Hey, I'll come back in a couple weeks after I get my credit card. I gotta apply for a credit card, and when that comes in, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
And the whole ball and chain won't be with me. Don't worry.
Yeah, but last time I checked, that for a 9.8 out of 10 graded, it's $60,000.
And that gradation is like mint condition.
Basically,
Gradation.
it's
Yeah.
10
Like the
out of 10 is
condition
the
of it.
best you can
Yeah.
get. And
Gotcha.
for a comic of that age, it's very rare to get something of that high quality. Um, like, fuck, Action Comics #1 with the first appearance of Superman
Mm-hmm.
sold for 1 million plus as of
Nice.
1.0.
I think I got one of those and just sitting on my shelf here.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Well, you're rich, buddy. Everybody robbed the fuck out of Calvin.
It's like that when a few years ago the thing came out about that the Nintendo game, the track and field game, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's worth like $50,000 or whatever if you have one in good enough condition. And my buddy had I remember playing that game at his house, but he had like it wasn't the right version. He had the Mario Duck Hunt / track and field. So it wasn't you had to have just the track and field by itself, and it was even a different version on that. And I remember I saw it and I'm like sending a message. I'm like, "Do you still have this game? Like it can be worth some money." And he's like, "Oh no, I don't have the right one." I was like, "Shit." Cuz that would have been
He
kind of
already
cool.
checked that shit.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know that I have one of those. The closest thing I probably have is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Um, what was it? It was like $450 on Amazon, and it was from like 2016. It was a black and gold version of the Dragon Dagger, I want to say. I gotta look at my Amazon account to see if I still have it saved. I think I deleted it off there because I was like, I'm never gonna fucking buy that. Let me just see. Great radio here. I know. At the bottom of the list. Oh, there it is. Let's see how much it is now. Yes, it's a black and gold. It's a Blade Blaster, not the Dragon Dagger. So like the little blasters that they carried.
Mm-hmm.
2016 San Diego Comic Con exclusive. $408 now.
Dang, you getting a deal on it now, bud.
Yeah, $50 cheaper, right?
Fuck yeah, that's $50.
I'll tell my wife that. But like that's something I just don't feel I could ever pull the trigger. Like I could never. I could probably never like justify that to myself because I wouldn't do anything with it. I would never look at it. Like I have the regular Blade Blaster. I don't know that I need the black and gold one, but it's cool. If anybody ever wants to buy it for me, hit me up.
Well, if you're like stupid rich, you already know I'm gonna be buying a black
Right.
and gold
If I
fucking
hit
Blade
the
Blaster.
if I hit the lottery, then I'll get it. But for a while before that, like I said, I don't really collect that way where I have this thing that I want and I just need to go after it and save my money up to get it. I find good steals and cool looking stuff, and I buy them as it was. But for a while, it was the Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi Force Effects lightsaber, like the good one with the good blade and everything.
Mm.
I actually caught that on sale at Target 2 years ago. Just by complete luck, I'm just like wandering around, and it was on clearance for $70. I'm like, okay, guess I'm buying this today.
How much is it
Because
usually?
they're usually like $125, which isn't out of the question, but it's not cheap either. And for a lightsaber that I'm gonna just put on a wall,
Exactly.
But I was like, okay, for $70, yeah, done.
I'm fucking there. You
Yeah.
had me at $7.
So, right. And usually, like, so with the whole like Holy Grail, there's not a lot of things that I would spend over $100 on. Like, obviously, my custom built lightsaber, I would spend that much on it. But for the most part, I'm looking for cool things at a good price. If it costs too much, I pretty much move on.
That's
and it
half the fun.
Doesn't hurt my pride at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's half the fun of collecting is finding that good steal and that really neat figure where you're like, oh fuck yeah, I can't pass this up.
Right. To me, it's more about the hunt than it is about the end product. Like, I have a lot of kind of dumb shit, but I found it cool. I have a Taz that's like Taz, the Tasmanian Devil, dressed up in like a Flash suit kind of thing. So he looks like the Flash, but he's Taz, and I want to say it's like a McDonald's or Burger King toy from the 80s or 90s. And I probably paid $2 for it at an antique store, but it's really fucking cool. A Taz in a Flash suit.
That is dope.
It's dumb as shit, but it's awesome. So like I would much rather find something like that. Or like I have a Shazam. I don't give a shit about Shazam, but I found like this $50 statue that just kind of looks cool, and I didn't have a Shazam, so all right, I'll buy Shazam.
I now have a Shazam.
Yeah, I've got pretty much the full run of the DC Primal action figures that they did, which
Those
are
dope.
terrible as action figures, but they look really cool.
Yeah.
But they barely move and they can't hold their weapons very well. But
that's 80s.
They look pretty cool.
That's 80s all the way.
Yeah. I've got Black Manta, I've got Bizarro, I've got King Shark, the Flash, 2 Batman, a Joker, and a Green Lantern. The only one I don't have is Wonder Woman, I think.
Oh, they have that at my
local
comic shop.
I'm a big Wonder Woman collector. I don't have any Wonder Woman. I guess I'm sexist.
You fuck. You misogynistic.
No, I've got a lot of Batgirl. I've got a lot of females on the Marvel side. I don't care for Wonder Woman that much. Sorry.
Hater.
I love Gal Gadot.
Who doesn't?
Not a big fan of Wonder Woman.
All right.
So, let's talk about the hard part. What happens to this in the future? As a parent, are you hoping your children take after you and start their own collections? What happens with your collection as you age or die? What's going on? What do you think's going on with your collection as you move on in years?
I would love my daughter to, be her own little collector because I think it'd be really fun to help her with it. And if she wanted some of my stuff for sure, but I think a good chunk of it, not a good chunk, probably like 15 to 20% of it, I'm probably going to hang on to until the day I die. And then, whatever happens with it kind of happens. If my kids don't want it, I'll donate it.
You're not going to come back and haunt your kids if they sell your collection after you die?
No, I'm fucking dead. They can have it. As long as they
do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean,
make a couple $100 off it. That's fine.
I don't care. I mean, as long as they're not, if that was selling your dad's shit that he left to you, if that makes you feel better, fuck you, kid. But I'm not gonna sit there and be like, this needs to be passed down.
I'd rather him sell it than throw it away.
Fuck yeah. Or leave it to get pissed on or something by some animals.
Yeah.
It's like let their cat pee all over my prized comic book collection. It's like, no, I'm good.
They'll use it as book covers for their books in the future.
They'll be hip and make epoxy tables out of it.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. If Arya wants to, read comic
Shout
books,
out Arya.
Love you, baby
listening
girl.
in the future.
If she has this huge affinity for Spider-Man when she's a little old enough to
she's got a good start now.
Yeah. I'll hook her up with the first appearance of like Venom and Carnage and stuff and cool stuff like that.
So did I see, this is completely off topic, did I see somewhere the other day that Norman Osborn is Carnage?
Maybe. They're doing weird shit
at
Marvel
I saw a picture
right now.
Of that. Yeah. If anyone knows, hit us up.
Hit us up
on Twitter.
Suck my fanfic.
At APA.
Do you guys know?
Yeah. is Norman Osborn Carnage. I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't think that my girls will take up into collecting. It's just not something you see in girls a lot. Like they don't have that need to just have crap around all the time. It seems like. Um, I don't I don't care if they build their own collections or whatever, but every once in a while they don't seem to care about my collecting for the most part. Every once in a while they do, like my older daughter especially, she'll take a genuine interest in the new things that I get and think that it's cool, which that's always pretty cool when she does. And she kind of has eyes for some of my stuff, but I think it's because they're in glass cases and she just wants to fucking play with them.
Probably.
Like I don't think it's like she wants this collection to be her collection someday. It's like, you put these toys behind glass and told me I couldn't touch them. I want to fucking play with them now.
Yeah, Dad. Before,
which is fine too.
I'm going to fuck those toys up.
Honestly, I would be okay with it as long as she doesn't break my lightsaber. Again, nothing in here costs more than $100 for the most part. Drive yourself crazy.
Better knock on some wood, buddy.
And as far as them getting my collection, I'm in the same boat. If they want it, they can have it. But I think about that a lot sometimes of like, what am I really doing with all of this and what am I doing it for? Like I do like to look at it, and every once in a while I'll just like stop and look around at all the cool shit I have. And the most of the fun in it though is finding new things. But a lot of times that just feels like I'm compiling junk for the sake of compiling junk, And like, at some point we're going to move out from this house, and I know that's going to be a pain in the ass to pack it all up and move and set it back up again. And like I think about, okay, when I'm 70, am I going to have a room full of superhero crap at that time? Like I would be okay with it, but is my wife still going to be okay with it at that point? Like I don't know if that happens. Like, am I going to be an old man with this fucking collection? I would love it if I have room for it. That'd be cool. But like, I think most likely we'll hit a point where we're gonna, every old person does this. You hit a point, you move into like a small apartment or a condo, or not like like one of those retirement villages where you're basically in a 2-bedroom apartment and that's it, or a 2-bedroom small house. Like at that point, what do I do with it? You don't have space to put them up. Our kids are grown up. Do they want it? If they don't, then
you're on a fixed income.
Yeah, do I sell it at that point, or do I just box it up and wait? Honestly, that's a future problem, and I'm just gonna enjoy the ride from now and keep compiling junk.
That's kind of how I look at it, man.
If it makes us or my kids a couple $100 in the future, then great.
Oh, I'm sure it'll. I'm sure some of my stuff is worth, decent.
Well, you have comics that, and you probably keep them in good condition that will
fucking betcha
appreciate over age. My stuff will not appreciate over age because like I've got a lot of like the Titans figures, like the big 12-inch figures that they sell in Walmart for $9. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna sell those for $1 tops ever. I've got 15 of those, so I'm already working at a loss there. But I've got some good statues and stuff that people might want to get their hands on someday. If somebody like me came across some of this stuff 50 years into the future, they would think this is a pretty cool collection and probably put down some money for some of this stuff,
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it's not stuff, I'm sure 50 years in the future, everything's going to be mass-produced Funko Pop type stuff.
Yeah, we'll see how the future shakes out.
Yeah, that's a future problem. All right, one last thing before we go today. We put up a Twitter poll, as usual.
Oof.
And got a huge response. Shout out Twitter. At APA something, at alone_podcast. The tweet was, we're recording about collecting and our collections tonight. What do you collect and why? Leave a comment for a shout out on the episode. First option was toys, 27%. Trading cards was 23%. Stamps got 8% of the vote. Shout out stamps collectors.
Fucking stamps, big time.
I really threw that on there as a joke and didn't really expect anyone to click it. Thought maybe 1% would get stamps. And then, as always, other comes in to win with 42%. A lot of good stuff coming in here.
Ton of comments.
So, along with this we got 74 total votes, which is about in line with what we usually get, but we got way more comments than usual.
A gargantuan amount of comments.
So, do you think that collecting as an art form has grown kind of in the last decade or so because it's kind of become so much easier with the internet?
Oh, definitely.
Like, we got such a good response because it's easy to collect now. Like, 20 years ago, if you were collecting something, like you really had to get on your horse to find it. You had to be
You were really lucky.
on like, yeah, you had to just find this shit out in the wild somehow. There was no Craigslist, there's no eBay, there's no Amazon. Like you got to go to a store and find it somehow.
Yeah,
You got to be like Nick and his wife driving around all over Illinois in every store you can find.
yeah. If you couldn't find it, no dice. You're fucked.
I mean, like stamp collectors and coin collectors, they probably had a little bit. Like a coin collector probably had a field day in the 90s, right? Get coins with everything.
Yeah, they
A coin collector now, they've probably got some issues because nobody fucking uses coins anymore.
Well, that, and I don't know how many people want the Trump commemorative coin they're kicking out lately.
I feel like the people who collect coins would probably still want that though. Like I feel like that's the same demographic.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through some of the responses. Unfortunately, required reading at unfortunately RR. We got a lot of comments. Try not to tune us out through them because there's a lot of good stuff in here. So they say, and of course, I neglected to mention both of the hosts of the podcast have too many books and comic books.
Yes.
So that brings me to my next question. Do you think things that you actually use, books, video games, movies, the physical things that you open, use, it's actually a utilitarian tool, does that really count as collecting? Like, I bought a bunch of movies in college, but I watched all those movies too. I wasn't collecting them. I was using them for entertainment. But like, I buy an action figure and I put it on a shelf. That's a collect.
Yeah, but you get something out of it, just like you do watching a movie. So I think it definitely is collecting. I mean, you can have video game collections.
Even if that's
part of the experience. Yeah.
All right.
That's part of the experience.
Right. So let's move to the next one. Skip the Small Talk podcast at Skip the Small Talk. I collect people's DNA for an army of clones in the future, and I'm really hoping that's a joke.
You and me both, buddy.
It's pretty fucking weird. I mean, I'll send you some, but it's a weird thing to do. Like, I'm fine with having my clone out there.
Hey-o.
Hit me up. Tiny Morbid Fantasies at Tiny Morbid. I collect mugs. I have cute and unique mugs, also ugly mugs. Here's the thing about mugs. I don't drink coffee.
You don't drink coffee?
But there are super dope mugs out there. I wish I drank coffee because there's so many cool mugs and it's an easy thing to collect.
Yeah, it really is.
They're everywhere sells a mug. Or now they've got like the metal mugs too that they sell. Like everywhere sells a fucking mug and a lot of them look cool. But I don't drink coffee, so like I have some mugs in my collection that came in like loot crates and shit like that. And they're just on a shelf. But I don't have a purpose for them. So I don't go out of my way to find mugs. But I like mugs are a good thing to collect. They're utilitarian. You can use them, and they mostly look cool.
Yeah, I kind of see one and just grab it.
Yeah. Our friend Colby Mack at Colby Told Me says he collects a bunch of weird stuff, and I gotta agree here. Every debit or credit card that I've ever owned, super weird. Coffee mugs and tumblers, we already talked about that, and then movies, sneakers, and hats.
See?
You're getting more normal as we go. But every debit and credit card is kind of weird. You know, like, they're not useful anymore. Just throw them away, man. Cut them up, throw them away. You don't need them.
You don't fucking need them, bro. Just cut it out.
Yeah, all right, you gotta, if you're listening, hit us back. Like, why the fuck are you holding on to these debit and credit cards? This has been bothering me for the last 2 days since we put this poll up. You gotta let me know. What is the purpose of them? And do you, like, how do you collect them? Do you put them in a display? Do you frame them? Or do you just stick them in a shoebox just in case?
I'm more interested.
I gotta know. I got a lot of questions about this debit and credit card collection.
Knows.
What about gift cards? Do you keep gift cards? What about like rewards cards?
Yeah, I think you're getting deep into this, brother.
It's a weird thing. I gotta know. And speaking of weird things, Our True Crime Podcast at Our True Crime Pod, I collect heads with a nice picture of very strange heads.
You know, that's very fitting for Our True Crime.
Yeah, it's something. I'm gonna move past it. Making Good Spaghetti. They love commenting on our polls at mgoodspaghetti. Collects shot glasses, statues, and vinyl records. Very sporadic, but that's good. Shot glass is another great utilitarian thing. In the same vein as mugs.
Yes, I don't ever take shots.
I'm not a big drinker, and even if I was, I wouldn't be doing shots. For a while there, like fresh out of college, I was like, oh yeah, Shot glasses are a cool thing to collect. You always got to have a shot glass around. And like 2 years later, I was like, what the fuck do I need a shot glass for?
Yeah, I haven't taken a shot in 2 fucking years. What's up?
Yep. And now I've got 20 shot glasses. Don't need those anymore. I'm moving. Get rid of them.
Yeah.
The Movie Cellar. At the Movie Cellar, our show is based around collecting VHS tapes. Two of the hosts have a combined collection of nearly 2,000 movies on a completely dead format. Way to go. At Dan TMC, who obviously is one of the hosts of the show, also collects comics, books, vinyls, toys, cards, and Pogs. Pogs is a dope thing to collect. They're bringing Pogs back. Have you seen them at Target?
I have not.
Yeah, they got Pogs at Target now.
Nice.
I used to have a huge Pogs collection.
Well, look at you. Buster.
It wasn't because we would go to the flea market a lot. The flea market was a great place to get Pogs.
Flea market was a great place to get everything.
Yeah, well, the old flea markets where I'd get action figures there, I'd get Pogs there, video games. Now you go to a flea market and it's like shitty multi-level marketing schemes and weird woodworking things, and that's
15-year-old laptops for $100.
Yeah. Very, very strange place at the flea market now. Maybe every once in a while you can find a toy. Very rarely. Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss podcast at IWB podcast. Tattoos. She says, legit, my latest approach to souvenirs. They're easily portable and difficult to lose. I also collect playlists as group efforts or as individual gestures in lieu of tangible gifts. She says it's so much easier and more meaningful than a wrap gift to on her Facebook group, she asks people to send her playlists and she listens and kind of gets into the mind space of these Facebook friends that she has or Facebook followers she has. She kind of gets into their mind space of, oh, this is the music you like. I can see why, and which is kind of a cool thing to do. Tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, but like that's a cool way to collect, I guess.
A lot of people do that. I don't have any tattoos.
Good spin
either.
on that. Yeah. Not a tattoo guy.
Mm-mm.
At the Erie Americas. At Erie Americas, comic books, Funko Pops, magnets, shot glasses. Just made me realize how much stuff I collect. See?
Hot damn.
I think this exercise has shown that to all of us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, we got another weird one. 143 at Breaker6696. Funeral programs, obituaries, and postcards.
Sad. Yeah.
It's a strange thing. Will the real horror show please stand up at horror show _pod? Beatles merchandise, especially vintage quirky merchandise. That's
pretty cool.
Okay, I could get that. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the Beatles. They're fine.
They have a couple songs that I can really fucking jam to, but otherwise, not a big.
Yeah, they're fine. The Harper at the Harper coin, Zippo lighter, shot glasses, pretty boilerplate stuff there. Murphy's The Fringe podcast at Murphy Fringe. I have an affinity for stone and Paleolithic era stone tools. We were talking about Breaking Bad earlier. Really right in the Hank McCoy. Not Hank McCoy. What the fuck's his name? Hank McCoy is the Beast in X-Men. Hank Schrader. This is probably the only thing I would say I collect, depending on global location. It's like a 1 million year old scavenger hunt, and the research that comes with it are the instructions. All right, that's fun.
That's cool.
More from Unfortunately Required Reading podcast. I still collect Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards. That would have been another thing, so when I'm in 6th grade and Pokemon's big, if I started collecting Pokemon cards, I wouldn't have been able to stop until I had at least all original 151, And if I was at this point in my life and I still didn't have all 151, I would still be going to get them. But it wouldn't stop there either, because then the next 150 would have come out and I would have wanted all those. So I can see how you'd get stuck in that. Random Chatterings at Ran Chat Podcast. I collect amiibos and Nendroids, but I try not to go overboard with buying too many at once. The amiibos are the little Nintendo dudes that they give you new playable characters in some games. I get it. They're kind of the Funko Pops of the Nintendo world, I would say. Head Like a Haunted House at the _Stormy Skies, volumes of Edgar Allan Poe. All right, I get that. If you got a favorite writer, you want to collect that shit. Ryan L. Terry at RL Terry 1, horror Funkos. Got a lot of Funko love here, which we kind of shit on them earlier, but we get it. Nothing Ever Happens in Canada at Nothing Canada, magnets from all my travels and friends. That's something my wife started when we started going on trips together. She would get a magnet at whatever hotel or resort we were staying at, or just one that encapsulated the place we were visiting. So we got quite a few magnets too. That's more my wife's thing than mine though. Zodiac Mac at Carl Karras 2, books, stamps with pictures of buildings, and overdue bills. Don't we all, brother?
Don't we all, brother?
Grand Rapidians play video games at Grand_video games. Obviously, makes sense. You're a let's play video game channel. You're gonna collect video games. He said, I sold one time, Beautiful Joe, and have regretted it ever since. Andy collects Amiibo. He's not trying to get them all, but I have around 20 and want more despite them not having many gaming uses. That's true. I still haven't figured out, like, you get the Pikachu one and it gives Pikachu an extra move in Super Smash Brothers or something, but you're paying $20 for this little dude. I don't get it.
It's just the thrill of the hunt, my man.
I guess. I mean, I buy a fucking Flash statue and it goes on a shelf, so what? Who am I to talk?
Yeah.
You know?
What can we say? We just talked about collecting, so.
We gotta hurry up. This is running long, and we've got a lot more to get to. Kazdarian at Kazdarian vinyl albums, the Bobby Koto Show, Bobby_Koto t-shirts. Love me some t-shirts. That's a good collection because you can always use that.
Fuck yeah.
One Man Staring Contest vinyl, and I think he's talking about vinyl records. Says again, for the thrill of the hunt, keep physical copies of music in my own archive, and it's the best sound of both music and the needle. Do you listen to vinyl music?
Nope.
No, I mean.
Heard it's great though, so I'll
whatever, man.
Leave
like,
it up to them.
I can't tell the difference. Like, just give me a fucking song off the internet. I'm fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's way too much work.
I'm not an aficionado.
Yeah, no. All hands on deck. All hands on D. I used to collect manga, but I haven't done in some time. We'll get back on it, man. You're slacking.
Seriously, there's good shit out right now.
Tiger at Tiger Lee. Animal bones and skulls. This was your favorite. They're pretty.
Weird.
They're pretty, and I use them for drawing practice. So apparently this person draws the animal bones and skulls. Just the tipsters at JT Tipsters Pod. I may collect unicorn headbands because they make me happy. All right, do it.
Right on. That's awesome.
Sandra Grout at Sandra Grout 1. Books I love reading. Okay.
Ayo.
Nicole Giver at Darth_Nixa. Antique and vintage books. More books. Okay. Just the Zoo of Us at Just the Zoo of Us. That's a cool name. Dice. We have way more dice sets at home than we could ever possibly have use for, and will not hesitate for an instant to keep buying more. They're just so pretty in here. I would get that from, like, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons or any of these tabletop board games, but I feel like that's the thing. If I played those things, I would be all in on dice sets too.
Seen that before.
Because they do look dope. Like, I'll just be scrolling through Amazon sometimes and they pop up and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Or I'll like walk around the comic book store because a lot of comic book stores sell tabletop game stuff. And I'm like, oh, these are pretty fucking cool. But what am I going to do with 20-sided dice? Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
This Insecure Life at Insecure Life Pod. Pins. I started when I was young. I also used to collect rocks, porcelain dolls, cherished teddies. My fancy collection is charms from traveling. Also hats. That is a lot of collecting.
That is.
I've got some pins. Because I did a full year subscription of either Geek Fuel or Loot Crate, and every one they'd send a pin. So, like, if I recognized what the pin was, I put it up on my board. There were probably 2 or 3 that I just had no idea what it was. So I was like, okay, that's going in the trash. But I got like 10 of those. Yeah, it was from Geek Fuel because it's right behind me. I've got 10 of those. I got my pin from building my lightsaber. And then I've got a couple more just like random ones that I picked up along the way.
Pins can be dope. They have some nice ones.
They're fucking expensive though.
They
got at Target. They've got a cool Crash Bandicoot one. Yeah, they've got a cool Crash Bandicoot one at Target, and it's like $15. I'm like, I'm not spending $15 on a pin. Sorry.
No, fuck you.
Disney World has a lot too, and theirs are like $10. And I'm just like, I can't do it. But there's this whole like a whole game. Like if you buy one and you walk up to a cast member, you can like trade them for one that they already have on their thing. So it's like this whole kind of trading game with the pins. So you don't, once you buy some, you just trade up for the rest of them. It's a weird thing. There's a lot of like weird little games that go on in Disney World that are completely out of my purview. We're just fucking meeting princesses and going on rides, man. That's all I care about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Defrosting cold cases at Vito CQ_CC. Fountain pens and books. Now, do you write books with the fountain pens? That's what you should do.
That'd be meta as fuck, bro.
Yeah. That is the Twitter feedback. Thank you again for everybody who participated. Every week we do a poll at APA something about our upcoming episodes, so check those out, and you will get a shout out on the show. As you can see, this took a really long time to get through those, but we got a lot of feedback, so we want to give a shout out. Thank you for that. I don't have anything more to say on collecting. Do you have anything more to say on collecting?
I do not. I think I got it all out of my system.
I do too. There will be pictures of collections along with this episode, so check that out. And send us pictures of your collections, except our true crime podcast. We don't want to see your heads anymore. We're done.
No.
And the animal skulls. We don't want to see those either. And there was one more.
I'm sorry.
Your DNA samples. Those 3 things. But Colby Mack, I got to know more about the debit and credit cards. Whatever you got, hit us with it.
Just blur out the numbers and names, just in case.
No, leave them on there. It's good.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Check out our Patreon, which we plugged earlier, Twitter, all that stuff we said amongst the show. So thank you for listening. All the music for a podcast about something is provided by those cats.
You guys stay sassy.
Stay classy.